Today's guest is nothing short of inspiring. We're joined by Hannah Spinelli, the founder of Inez, a footwear brand that perfectly blends comfort and fashion. Hannah's journey is one of passion, creativity, and bold decisions. From designing for major fashion houses like Ralph Lauren to stepping out on her own to create a brand rooted in both style and wearability. She's proof that following your gut and your dreams can lead to something beautiful. Tune in to hear Hannah's story, the pivots, the risks, the wins, and get ready to feel inspired.
If you're a multi-passionate hustler who loves squeezing the juice out of life and is always looking to get to the next level, then Share the Wealth is for you. Welcome. I'm Zeba.
And I'm Sarah.
We're two friends who just happen to live across the street from each other and share a deep passion for entrepreneurship and wellness. After meeting as neighbors, we quickly bonded over our similar journeys, starting out in Fortune 500 companies before diving headfirst into the world of entrepreneurship and opening fitness studios.
Together, we bring unique perspectives to the table, combining years of experience in business, fitness, and personal growth. Join us and our incredible guests as we explore the realities of being ambitious women, navigating business, motherhood, wellness, and the many twists and turns life throws our way. So let's start sharing. All right, so I think we'll just kick it off with some basics.
Yeah.
Want me to start?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us about where you come from growing up and what you thought you would be when you grew up, and if that's related to what you studied in school or not.
Sure. They're definitely not related.
Okay.
As a kid, I had a typical suburban childhood, but I was always drawn to making things. I mean, I taught myself to sew. My grandmother and my mother taught me how to knit. I even made shoes for my dolls. I was just always, drawn to making things and drawn to making things in, like fashion accessory sort of space. If you look at my notebooks, they're filled with fashion croquis. By the time I got to high school, I didn't have a lot of maybe templates in my life for people who pursued creative things. I was a great student. I had a lot of varied interests. So I went into a period of being quite confused about what I wanted to do. I was technically undecided, but into anatomy, physiology, and biology. I thought maybe medicine, maybe surgeon. And I got this funny phone call from a girl that I grew up with. We hadn't spoken in 5 years. We had this really, she found my number, tracked me down. We had this lovely conversation for about an hour about, we were both at school, what she was doing. She was studying fashion design. And I hung up the phone and I was like, what the heck? It was a really weird thing. I haven't talked to her since, we've never spoken again.
That was her purpose in your life, right?
So.
It was just to
very bizarre. I think I went on spring break, had a heart to heart with a friend, and was just like, no, this is that's always what that's always what I wanted to do. I moved to New York, enrolled in FIT, and eventually found my way to Polymoda in Italy. Initially worked as an apparel designer, but while I was living in Italy, I think that's where the seed was planted for footwear. There were so many small independent stores with creative factory lines. I started wearing heels and learning how to walk in heels, which, on the cobblestone streets of Florence, definitely learning how to skateboard on the, half pipe. But yeah, and I worked in apparel for a few years in New York, but it was really just like an itch I had to scratch. I went back to Italy. I did a footwear program in Milan, and I've been designing shoes ever since.
I love that story about the phone call. If you can't see it, you can't become it. You didn't have the template. Something like that has to happen at the right time. If you didn't connect with her until med school, or someone else.
Yeah.
Who knows? Maybe you would have done it anyway. It's just the timing.
Millennials, Gen Xers, all the older generations didn't have an example of the track to a more creative field. Right. It was very gray. It was like you were a movie star or a singer, but it seems so elusive. Like, how does one become more creative? Absolutely. Now, of course, the kids now see paths to being creative.
It was more opaque for us if you didn't have just natural exposure.
Just be a doctor or a lawyer.
Teacher, nurse, nothing wrong with that, but there's a clear path. Now you can go on Skillshare and learn graphic design.
It's incredible.
I'm so jealous. I've taught myself a few things.
I had my era where I wanted to be a fashion designer. In the 80s, I was very elusive. And I think many young girls still aspire to do that. What is one thing you wish people knew about being a fashion designer?
I would say, you know, fashion's amazing and it's very glamorous. And I think a lot of people are drawn to it because it's kind of shiny and exciting. And it is all of those things. Um, I would say if you're, and there's lots of ways to get exposure to that and get into that. I mean, you can work in PR, you can work in photography. I think if someone is interested in design specifically, get exposure to the daily grind, workload, and what the kind of like day to day behind the scenes work looks like, and just make sure that aligns with what you like to do as well. There's often a lot of travel. So, if you like traveling, that's great. Exposure to other languages, learning different languages, working in different countries. But yeah, I would say if you have an aversion to jumping on a plane and flying to Hong Kong or flying to Italy on a regular basis, it can be grueling.
Do you feel like now, or have you seen maybe younger generations coming up in this industry? Like, do you think there's a path for them? Like, once you're in, is it clear like what your options are? Like, I guess I'm wondering from someone who like you
Fashion
just
school.
right. Like, so I guess if you're in fashion school, clearly you've got the guidance but then once your career kicks off, is it a clear path or are you making your own way?
That's an interesting question. I think it's hard sometimes. You have to look around the industry and make goals for yourself, either on what you want to be doing or what type of company you want to be working for. You have very different experiences, whether you're working for a small company or a large
Mhm.
company, a luxury company versus a more commercial company. I think you have to figure out your sort of within that. I sometimes you can get pigeonholed. I know that happens in apparel. It happens in footwear too, where, you got a job designing sneakers, but you love elegant footwear. Some of the big companies have like very
Mhm.
distinct categories, and it's like, no, I want to do everything. Knitwear, wovens, high heels, sneakers. Sometimes it can be harder to find those opportunities or jump between them. You have to make hard choices or take risks to not follow the easiest path.
Mhm.
Adjacent, you want experience.
Pivot from apparel to footwear.
I did a stint at shoe school. I had already been working as a designer, so I looked at different programs. I really wanted something technical because I was already working as a designer. I felt a lot of pressure to get moving. I mean, my resources were very tight. I was living in New York. Um, and I found a technical school in Milan called Ars Tutoria. It's like a pattern making school for footwear, but you learn about leather, you learn best ways to cut leather, you take trips to factories. And hilariously enough, it's where I met my current business partner. We met at Ars Tutoria many years
Cool.
ago, and then disconnected and didn't stay in touch for many years. He went on to work in finance and marketing and all other sorts of industries, even though he grew up in a family that had a footwear business. And meanwhile, I, went into a footwear design career. Um, then I moved back to New York and started looking for an entry level footwear position.
Did you leave your job when you went to shoe school?
I was working at the time and I
It was
was
such an
able
iconic brand.
to,
It still
it
is,
was.
but it's an iconic brand.
I was just on that
Dreamy.
mural on Broadway. It was part of the DNA of New York City. I was lucky when I came back to New York. I had good relationships there. I was able to freelance and consult with them while I found my footing uh, in footwear.
Was your first job at Ralph Lauren for footwear?
Now, I initially did a lot of consulting for different companies and like even a design studio that had a bunch of different clients. And then like about a year later, I landed at Ralph.
So once you had this footwear, the shoe school under your belt, did you feel like, okay, I'm on the right track, or were you still
Um,
questioning what's next?
I felt like I had a good foundation, but this is very much a trade. You learn so much on the job.
Hmm.
Once you get in the thick of it, you're seeing the design process, traveling to factories, working with a last maker, you're working with a heel maker, you're working with all these different suppliers. then yes, you just really start to connect the dots. Things start to flow and everything comes together. So
Yeah. I think that's true for almost anything. You go to this you school, hands-on learning, and then they throw you out in the wild and you're like, wow, not what I thought.
Or it is. And it's even better.
Every company has its own process and, culture. So I'm sure that that's
definitely,
really defined you.
for sure. But yeah, I still really love designing shoes. I'm grateful for that. I still enjoy the process. I get excited when I get a box of new prototypes, nervous and all the feelings. I have never tired of the work, which is great. And I'm thankful for that.
Is there a lesson or knowledge you took from your time at Ralph Lauren into your own business?
I do think, I mean, one, it was an amazing like education from just categories of footwear. Like I was not pigeonholed. I was going to Italy 4 or 5 times a year, working in the same factories as Hermes and Saint Laurent. I was also going to China, working at all different price points. I was working on women's, I was working on men's, dress product, casual product. So I had my finger in like every possible category of footwear. And I mean, that's invaluable as a learning experience. Also, learning about building a brand and staying true to your identity. No brand has done that as well. Just an incredible commitment and understanding of uh, who the brand is. And to be able to do that
Hmm.
over a long period, it's easy when pressure to grow. People want you to be things you're not, expand into other categories you don't want to do. Just stay committed to your identity is why that brand is
Yeah, it's
iconic.
remarkable having so many different aesthetics within a brand, preppy, Western, Americana, sporty. It speaks to so many different lifestyles, but yet it all has like that common thread. So
Yeah.
I'm an on. And also that you can hold the sale as a luxury brand and that doesn't dilute like
Hmm.
your purple label
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah. To have it once that sort of scope that is large enough and encompasses so many things, but at the same time never loses its cohesiveness is
Hmm.
um, incredible.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things we see in Inez too. I talked to you a little bit in New York when I met you. Seeing your shoes, you have all the categories that are more of like the dressier shoe, like the boots and the sandals and the pumps and I don't know, they're dream shoes.
Thanks.
And yet they're so eclectic and varied. It's not the same shoe over and over. They all have this common thread. One of the things I love about your brand is they have a look that says Inez. It's not this one thing where it's like, oh, it's the same. It's not a shoe rut. It's like very eclectic.
Thank you.
It's almost like she knew what she was doing.
It's almost like you had a great example. They're so elegant.
Ziba's been promoting them forever. Recently, we've been having conversations with friends and they've been buying and loving them. We're just a small bubble, but a nice little micro.
Focus group.
Yes, we are. We've got people from different walks of life and a lot of people have come from big cities. Anyway, we love them.
So in other
We're
words,
thankful.
like people that are picky fashion people,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
That aren't going to be swayed by just like a design, but actually looking for the quality, craftsmanship.
Comfort.
Yeah.
At the end of the day,
We're older.
We are a little older, and frankly, I just don't have patience for uncomfortable heels. I still want to wear heels, but like, as a young thing,
yeah. What was your personal shoe wearing journey? Like, were you always a heel wearer? Was it something that you like when you were in Milan that you were like, oh, I can be this woman?
yeah,
Wear.
especially after living in Italy, that was when, I was like, oh, so when my fashion phase started, I started wearing heels. Back in New York, I used to commute to work in a 4-inch heel. I don't know how I did that, but I'm a tricky fit. I have super narrow feet, so a well-made shoe isn't necessarily comfortable for me. We offer widths in our core product. Um, Over the years, I still love heels. I love the boost they give, feeling proportionally like my legs are longer, even if I'm wearing a more casual outfit or a pair of jeans. Sometimes, I've also been in sometimes for work, you're in a room of people much taller than you, and there's something empowering about coming up to eye level. So psychologically, there's all sorts of reasons why, even though maybe we're starting to dress more casually in a daily way, I still think for occasions, events, and just there's lots of women, myself included, who like wear heels on a daily basis, often throughout the week, even if they're mid heels.
It's a great way to be more stylish and have that juxtaposition outfit where you have a basic jeans and a t-shirt, but then amazing Inez heels. Now you have a street style look.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But yeah, so being able to sort of build, transform that experience for women is a core mission of Inez.
Was comfort a major pillar when you were building the brand?
Definitely, it's an essential pillar. At the same time, when someone's in the headspace of looking for a high heel, aesthetics are non-negotiable. Ever wanted to do product that felt like it was compromising in style or aesthetics for comfort, equal pillars, aesthetics and comfort.
How do you discipline yourself to come from a background of, I read about you designing thousands of shoes and to just have a very curated line and not be influenced by rapidly turning trends?
In some ways, it's a relief. I enjoy taking a more thoughtful approach to every style we put into work. Each style gets more attention. There's a lot of pressure. I mean, it's a lot of responsibility, especially because we're, DTC. So, we're not selling wholesale. We're committing to designing and buying early on. And there's definitely pressure and anxiety to get it right and run it through every filter. Is this the best width for this strap? The best color assortment for this sandal? We need a novelty color. Is this it? Like, I never have worked that tightly before. And
I've noticed being in a relationship, wearing your shoes out for the past 2 to 3 years, you might have the same shoe, but you have the different textures and the different colors and things. And I think that that's maybe like where you play with trends. I've never had shoes where I have the same shoe in different shades because I love them so much, like that's such a testament. Like I want the shoe again, but like I want it in a different color.
Like the ones you're wearing, which is amazing because you can't see them.
Oh, which ones? I'll show you. I'll show you mine if you show me yours.
I love that we were matching at the event. Oh, so cute. I'm wearing the Naomi's.
I love Naomi's.
Metallic.
It goes with everything. That's what I love about. Yeah. I remember walking all over Madrid and cobblestone streets with these. Yeah. I was unstoppable.
Yeah. The bronze is fun too because it's a metallic, but it's such a wearable neutral. It's a great color.
How did you know it was the right time to leave your job and pursue what was bubbling in the back for a while?
Sure. There was a bit of overlap. I had switched to consulting at Ralph and was part-time at Inez. Inez was growing, and I really recognized that it did need, full-time attention. So, yeah, I had to ask myself, do I think this can work? Am I ready to commit 100%, forego other full-time opportunities? I had to make a choice. It's hard to say if it felt like the right time. It was terrifying. I took the plunge. I'm happy I did. I knew it would come with sacrifices and some lifestyle changes and working in a very different way in a different type of structure. But yeah, it was like, do I believe in this? And I do. So I jumped.
Betting on yourself.
Yeah, that's a common theme, right? There is no right time, or it never feels like there's a right time, or like we've also said in interviews in the past, or just our own stories, like making it exist first and then figuring it out, making it perfect or better as you go. That's definitely relatable. If you're like us and love how chic and powerful a heel makes you feel, but you also need the comfort of your sneakers, you need to try Inez. We are so excited to be able to offer a 15% discount to our listeners. Designed by a woman, handcrafted, and ethically made in Spain, Inez specializes in heels and often dresses up our most basic outfits while not stopping our powerful walk. Most importantly, you will not believe how comfortable and beautiful these shoes are. Find your favorite new pair of shoes at Inez.com, INEZ.com. Use the code WEALTH WELLTH 15 to get 15% off your order.
How did you come up with a name?
Oh, we knew we wanted a woman's name. Like we felt like a woman's name would embody the spirit of the brand. Inez, honestly, I don't even remember the other contenders. We just liked how it looked aesthetically. It was just like, yes, that's the one.
It's short.
I don't even remember the other ones anymore.
Any name that has a Z in it is just amazing.
Yes, the Z. We loved the Z. Not because it's sort of a Spanish name, even though the Spanish spelling has an S, but the Z is just cool.
You mentioned you have a business partner. Have you been in it together from the beginning? How did you reconnect after shoe school?
Yeah, we have been in it from the beginning. We reconnected around this idea of comfortable footwear. Somebody put us in touch. We had a little reunion lunch and started talking. He had never really wanted to be that involved in the family business. He is an entrepreneur to the core. And as we started talking, we got really excited by the idea and it started to grow from there. And have very different and very complementary areas of expertise and skill sets. From a partnership perspective, we're quite well balanced.
We talk a lot about partnerships and that dynamic. I hear fear mongering around it, like, you better be ready to be married to this person for 20 years. In my experience, I didn't know my business partners that well, but we knew it was right. So far, it's been fine. It was your sister in your case, and that's a whole set of family.
Wow. Yeah.
It's worked out. So,
Yeah.
What's next?
Choosing a partner in business is probably as important as choosing a partner in life because you are going to spend a lot of time together and you're going to celebrate highs together, but you are going to go through tremendous lows and very, very stressful situations together. So yeah, it's a big decision, as you both know.
So many come to mind. I think you kind of know in your gut too. Like you kind of just have a feeling that it's going to work.
Yeah, there's something good here. We can create together, even though things are hard. We have respect for each other. So we disagree all the time. We can get into heated arguments about all sorts of things. But underneath that is just a tremendous, tremendous amount of respect for each other. And respect for, where the other person's coming from and, their perspective on why it's better for the business. Because ultimately we have the same end goal. So sometimes we, disagree on how to get there, but it's
or sometimes you arrive at the same place through different approaches.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Inez was this kind of muse that you came up with a name and could picture her day to day. Who is your design muse when making shoes?
I don't know if I don't have a muse. The muse is very general. Like I'm always thinking about a woman's desire, needs, lifestyle. I'm never just putting an idea on paper without having that conversation. Inspiration can come from anywhere, everywhere, all the time, I would say. Like, it can be color, texture, film, an era of time, something vintage, really comes from all over. And then obviously has to be distilled into the DNA of the brand.
I think I was just thinking more of an avatar, when you have that ideal client in mind where you know her lifestyle, her preferences, what she's like. We know she likes to look good, feel powerful,
and be comfortable.
That's a through line. We have a wide range of customers, but I would say that, ultimately it's a customer that at certain points in her life, maybe it's every day, maybe it's just for occasions, like she wants to feel elegant, she wants to feel, polished. We have customers that wear heels a lot and just like our brand. We have customers that had stopped wearing heels and then they'll come back and say, like, you got me back into heels, which is one of the most satisfying things we hear.
What has your approach to marketing been in a saturated market?
That's an excellent question. Coming from a big company where design and marketing were very siloed, the marketing aspect of brand building has been a huge force for me. We have a very talented head of marketing and art director. And because we're a small team, because we're nimble, when you can align the product design with marketing strategy, creative assets, and strategy, all of these combined with feedback that we have on sales and inventory management, because we are a DTC brand, having the right people in a small team gives you the edge. It's an incredibly saturated space, but I've been amazed by the flexibility and the ways you're able to not only share your message, but also react. Isn't based on inventory or what's available. It's pretty incredible.
It is valuable
To be nimble.
to be D2C
Yeah.
because you have all your info. There's no knocking down the door at Nordstrom. You have it all right there. Is D2C the plan indefinitely for the brand?
We would love to have a department store partner, potentially drop ship. Ultimately, the idea isn't to go wholesale. If we're aligned, have a strategic partnership, but yeah, the main plan, mostly DTC. In a big company, you're trying to get feedback on how product performed, and you're playing a game of whispered down the lane from the buyers, filtered through merchandisers. You don't even have full visibility into when it landed in the store. Maybe it arrived late. Yeah, you're just playing, you're so removed, where we can really dig in and figure out, why something's doing well. If there's a issue with product, we can course correct very quickly. It's the visibility.
And in today's world, your salespeople are content creators and influencers, right?
Yeah.
It's easier to get the word out and have the quote unquote like shoe salesman, the department store or whatever. You have a lot of people that really love your shoes that are sharing about them. So I think that that's good. That was the next question. You have an incredible influencer program and
Yes.
Yes.
What am I?
How did you set that up? You guys do so well. You involve us and let us pick, our favorite shoes and, just you just
Extremely generous
Yeah.
for new friends, neighbors, and podcast hosts.
I have to give credit to our team. I'm not doing much of the heavy lifting in our influencer program. They are, and they're amazing. I'm sure you interact with Meg frequently and Nora. They're just great. Influencer marketing is incredibly successful. It works. And there is sort of, I love it because it's, you are creating a relationship. You are able to get feedback from influencers, and they're interacting with in the product in a way and giving feedback to the brand that's really meaningful. And it's also really fun. I mean, I love seeing how influencers style the product. It's like it's it takes shape, or you see it in new ways. It's great. It's
Extremely trackable too, right? With affiliate links, you can tell what's working. It's between brand and lower funnel because you get the beautiful images when you photo shoot, but also driving directly to purchase, and you just get so much data.
Yeah, visibility and data. You get so much more data than you do from Facebook, and understanding why an ad performed well on Facebook versus having visibility behind.
That's a black hole.
Mhm.
It's a guessing game.
Yeah. It is essential to a DTC brand that we carry the weight of all our marketing on our shoulders, in the sense that we aren't in stores and are getting recognition via their marketing. The influencer program is essential, and it should be to any,
I feel like
DTC
I have
brand.
to force myself to wear other shoes to be like, does this girl have other shoes?
If you
Other than the Camilla metallic shoe, does she have other shoes?
our shoes are comfortable. The Camilla is exceptional. One of my favorite
so
shoes.
good.
It's where you get the payoff of the comfort and style you would not expect. I'd wear that one.
They're iconic.
Yeah.
But it's a good feeling to promote something when you're producing content and you're a stylist and you know that people are going to be happy. That's key. From someone in my shoes, I can't promote things that aren't going to serve you. Like, you're going to buy these shoes, they look great, but you're going to get blisters and be miserable. I can't do it.
And that's why you're
You
school,
said
because you're creating relationships because you build
people
trust.
trust you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember coming over one day and you're like, I got these shoes. Smell this. Who knows what it was, the material or whatever. You're like, I can't. I got to
Yeah.
tell them I cannot do
Yeah,
this.
I had a collaboration with another shoe company who shall remain unnamed. I opened up the box and it smelled like glue and plastic, and they were really
Yeah.
cute. And I just thought to myself, if somebody orders this pair of shoes and they feel like they're being poisoned, they're gonna never trust me again. So yeah, it's true. I open up yours, it smells like beautiful leather, but not too overpowering, just enough to let you know it's fancy.
With work being all in, your
Yeah.
baby, how do you balance your energies? How do you find time for other things? How do you disconnect?
I don't.
Not.
No.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said that I extremely disproportionate amount of my energy goes to Inez, my fiance. I would agree. There are phases in building a business, so I do recognize that, this has been a phase of Inez where it did really need this type of attention, and it's a small team and everyone's spread really thin. So I do kind of, keep in mind that as the business continues to grow and, we build out the staff and the resources, I, it's never not going to take up a ton of energy because that's just the nature of, I think, having your own business. But I do think down the road I'll be able to carve out more balance. I'll say it doesn't create balance, but it does help my experience of the things being a little unbalanced is the fact that I just do genuinely love the work. So I think if I was in it for different reasons, that would be a lot harder. But the fact that um, the day to day development, design, creative process, I still enjoy after all these years. That is definitely fueling and energizing.
I love that you're saying if I was in it for different reasons, because sometimes, so many times, people pick a track that they think they're going to be quote unquote successful in. But if you don't really love it, it just really
Yeah.
eats away at you. And you're never going to reach the levels of success that you could if you enjoyed what you do day to day.
Yeah. I'm not saying I enjoy every day, but
I know it's like an inner mission. It's a purpose and your why. You're very clear on that, and that gets you up in the morning versus just being like, another day designing shoes,
yeah, no,
dealing with problems.
I enjoy it, and that helps
But
a
is there
lot.
one thing you do just to unwind, to let your hair down?
I go to the woods. I spend time with friends, and I spend time with my fiance. And I am a, send me to the woods to decompress sort of person.
Love that.
Weekends in the
Me
Catskills
too.
does wonders for me personally.
Oh,
I don't know if you were listening when we started, but she said she used to go to camp when she was young in Canada. So
I did.
no, I didn't.
we got to send our kids away.
It's my
to Canada.
Yeah. I love that. Like this
Yeah.
fashion designer,
Yeah, glamorous glam
Yes.
girl, and she.
I think
Escapes.
I like the extremes. Put me in the center of
important.
Manhattan, Paris, or in the middle of the woods. Like either is fine.
No,
Nothing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd like Rochester. I feel like
No.
Rochester's in between.
We're very in between.
It's like not a big city,
Not
but
quite
there's like
nature.
farm.
Yeah.
Yes, it's very
I mean,
confusing.
it's cool though.
But the Finger Lakes, right now it's beautiful.
Yeah.
I loved how you mentioned keeping the bigger picture in mind, knowing this is a growth period and it's not always going to be like this, because that's really easy to lose sight of and potentially a reason why people might throw in the towel or spiral.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not sustainable to be in a growth phase forever. Maybe some people thrive on that, but
The best business advice I've received was to keep the long-term goals in mind, like while you're navigating, the fires that you're putting out every day and the ups and downs weekly, which can be really intense. I do think every once in a while you have to like come up and, remind yourself it's not always going to be like this. It's an evolving uh, company, and you have to keep long-term goals front and center.
who do you go to? You don't have to give the exact name, but is there a person you go to for business advice? Do you seek like a coach or past mentors? on your own. I feel like when you're in that corporate world, it's a clear direct manager or somebody.
And here's
but then
your mentor.
there's a mentee group you're part of, and then you're on your own.
I have a good friend. Her name is Cornelia.
I love that name.
She's from the Netherlands. We met studying abroad in Italy many years ago. She got a law degree, went on to consult in business, but has an incredibly creative side too. She paints, had her own B2B interior design business. And she's probably, I like to call her for, advice or to talk things through. Because on one hand, she does understand, a creative business, but at the same time, she is very
Business person.
sharp. Yeah, has worked at the highest levels of consulting and has
We all need a Cornelia in our life.
she needs a Cornelia.
All right, 2 more questions and then rapid fire.
Yeah.
So we know we've talked about the comfort, but we also know that sustainability and the craftsmanship is a huge part of the brand. So do you have advice for anyone wanting to start a business with sustainable products? It's important now, and I think there is interest, but I imagine that there is some hurdles.
Sure. All products are so different, but I do think when commit to the values of high quality, responsible manufacturing, you have to be a little more patient with the growth of your business. You have to make some hard choices. It's very easy to choose less responsible options. It requires discipline and decision making.
That's fair.
Love that. If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah, true. Exactly.
What is the best piece of business advice you've ever received?
Keep the big picture in mind because today is just a wild ride. So you got to keep the long-term goals as best you can.
It's so much like an actual baby. When you talk about a new business, when you're in the throes of having an infant, you're just like, okay, this is gonna not be forever.
Someone needs to tell new parents that. They don't always know that.
It doesn't get easier. You'll have different problems, but you will sleep again. You will have a life again. So for a rapid fire fun, this one is hard. I think a hard question. Platforms or pumps?
Platforms.
Shoes are made in Spain. So Madrid or Barcelona?
I like Barcelona. I like Madrid too, but Barcelona.
TikTok or Instagram?
Instagram.
Comfort or style?
Trick question.
Both. You don't have
Limited edition or timeless classic?
That's hard.
It is.
Pass. Oh, I don't know my Depends on
Pass.
limited edition. That's really
Depends.
depends.
That's the best answer when you don't know.
I need them both in front of I need the actual timeless classic.
Okay, noted. Silver or gold?
I've been doing more gold lately. I go back and forth, but gold. In the right now, gold.
Beach or pool?
Can I say lake?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you swim in lakes?
Sure.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
We're lake people up here. Finger lakes.
I just went on a field trip with my son and they showed us lake water under the microscope and I was like, yep, never gonna swim in a lake again. Oh my gosh, the things that were in there. So people can swim. They're like, oh yeah. I'm like, but amongst this stuff, they're like, yep.
Oh wow.
Sorry. I didn't mean to ruin your
Okay.
There's grosser things in the ocean. More
Yeah,
dangerous.
it's true.
In the
It probably
pool.
just
A
depends
ton
on-
of kid pee.
Also, yeah.
If you enjoyed today's conversation, the best way to support us is by subscribing, sharing the podcast with a friend, and leaving a review. And we'd love to hear from you. Comment below or slide into our DMs. See you next time.